Hi guys, welcome to Astrology and Earth Magic. I'm Jen and I'm here to give a little astrological insight into the upcoming full moon in Gemini on December 4th. And that is going to be here Eastern Standard Time at 6:14 p.m. So probably overnight seeing that is going to be pretty intense. And that is going to be at 13 degrees 3 minutes of Gemini. So this moon is called the full cold moon or the long night's moon. It's also called the moon before Yule because it is the last full moon before the holiday of Yule. So Gemini is about getting all the facts. How do we continue with what we've learned? How do we move forward with all that we've gathered through this kind of waxing phase that we've had? We still have that grand trine going on in our mutable signs, or in our water signs, sorry about that, with Mercury in Scorpio, Jupiter in Cancer, and Saturn in Pisces, making up that grand trine, and that is still having that effect. So a blending of good energies of knowledge, tradition, just easy conversations, and just keeping those traditions and just spreading the love amongst family, which is great with this holiday season that we're going through right now. So I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I sure did. We had a great day. Got up and I actually ran, it's the Manchester Road Race here in Connecticut. I put up a little short about it. Real fun race. So if you live in New England or if you like traveling to go to races, it's just a blast. There's people all dressed up in costumes that are running it. I had one video of me running with behind two bananas. So it's like, oh, seriously. But it was a lot of fun and we really enjoyed going. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law got sick, so we did have to cancel Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day, but then we had the whole family over on Saturday, had my granddaughter for a couple days, and that's why this video is coming out today, because everything just got a little delayed, and of course, that's what's most important, is being with family this time of year. So, holiday season has begun officially. House is all decorated. Again, hope y'all had a great time, and we also have the New Orleans game today, so we're gonna speed up this video a little bit so we can, be all on that. Anyway, so outside here is cold. So this cold moon is pretty much where it's at. I know that around the country, we've already seen some pretty bad weather, I think in the Indiana, that kind of area. I think that might be lake effect snow, I'm not sure, but a lot of, I've seen like a 34 car pileup. So things like that happening. And we knew that there were going to be some issues with travel. And we talked about this with our monthly forecast and with our new moon about this travel and the building of traffic. Of course, we all know that that's going to be happening, but because of weather. So if you missed that, the new moon video, definitely check that out because I do talk about that would most likely be happening around this time, this holiday of Thanksgiving. And it did. And so we did see a lot of backed up traffic. I know my sister came down from New Hampshire, and I think it was like 4 hours for her to get back. It usually would be like 2.5-ish. So of course, that always happens along the holidays, but it was a little more intense this time because of all the snow. So that is where you see that water coming into it. So we had those, the signs in the water that are adding to, like, of course, Saturn in water, adding that barrier, that kind of like hindrance. And then a lot of it is that Jupiter in Cancer, so in that water sign. And then of course we have Mercury in Scorpio, so that is, traveling, in a water sign. So, it's we kind of saw it coming we kind of already had our heads up about it. I thought it would be more in flights, but we don't know how it's going to work out. So we actually have Mercury moving direct now with this at the time of this full moon. So it's taking all that information that we've gathered again with the waxing phases, things that have been coming out, things that we've learned, maybe surprises that we had along, the Thanksgiving holiday, and that is starting to, and we're processing it and kind of like, okay, so now how are we going to continue moving forward with that? So a lot of this is going to be kind of being at a crossroads, or almost like it's a force of something that is forcing you to take action. And that's kind of why I'm naming this like it's take action now, because this full moon is square to the lunar nodes. So, and it's a very close square. It's only about, I think, a degree or so difference. So the nodes, we have those in the mutable signs. We have Pisces North Node, and then we have the full moon creating a grand square. So we have, of course, the nodes in opposition to each other. They always are, obviously. And so Pisces, Virgo. And then we have the full moon also opposite each other, which they always are. And those are in, of course, Gemini and Sagittarius, Sun and Sag. So we see that that is making a kind of a grand cross, it's called, but it looks like a big square, because we have, North Node, square, and then the opposition. So we have everything in a square, creating a big cube. But it's known as a grand cross, and this is all in mutable signs. So the moon in Gemini, Sun in Sag, North Node Pisces, and South Node in Virgo, all squaring each other on besides the oppositions. So when the nodes are square to, say, the full moon, for instance, or to a planet, we call that at the bendings. And so what does that mean? So being at the bendings is almost like I said, being at a crossroads. So you're at a point where it's a time for a karmic change. It's pretty much something that it's meant to happen and it's going to happen. And this can be difficult. These are squared to each other. So it can be a spurring of action that can be difficult at first. So say this is falling in your, 10th, 4th, those houses. Especially because those are also, so that would be your 10th, 4th, and then your 1st and 7th house. So those would be in your, what we call the angular houses. If, depending on the system that you use, but say you're using Placidus or Regiomontanus, those always start off those houses. And when you have something really impacting those houses, that's going to be, of course, that much more impactful on your life. So say, for instance, you have the full moon in your 10th and 4th houses, and all of a sudden you lose your job. So you're forced to take action, okay? You're forced to do something else. Say your house catches on fire, or say, who knows what, you break your leg, something like that. So it could be something that can be difficult, but is forcing you to take action. So that's kind of what I would expect from this full moon. So you're kind of gathered a lot of information and it's moving forward with it, but can be difficult moving forward. What information is going to come out that maybe you didn't expect? Say it is about losing your job. Say you, okay, well, I was thinking about, maybe doing something else, but now I'm stuck. Now it's holiday season and, I don't have all my presents bought and now I lost my job. So what am I going to do? Maybe it's time that you pick up crafting and so make these presents for for nothing, or start baking for people. It forces you to do something maybe outside of your comfort zone, but you know, it forces you to take action. So that could be, you know, maybe a little harsh. It could also be learning information about, say if it falls in your 7th house, learning information about your partner that you have to deal with, and you know, maybe something you've tried pushing under the rug, but now it's like it's out there, so now I have to deal with this. Same thing with your house, you know, maybe, and we hear about like these house fires this time of year, especially with people deep frying turkeys or bringing alternate sources of heat in the house, and something horrible happening. So these are all things that could affect your life and could throw that crutch in that is just like, okay, now you have to act. Now you have to deal with this potentially difficult situation that is coming your way. And how are you going to move forward with it? And what ideas, what things have you learned in your life that you can use to move forward with this, you know, and to get on with your life pretty much. So, and when the Grand Cross is at the bendings, with a full moon in Gemini, it's a lot about learning information and information coming out. Could be surprising information. Of course, I've said that. And it could be kind of hard to process. It could make it difficult to process because you could be just trying to be in that denial phase. It's like, nope, I'm not going to do it. And, you know, but this is at the end. And again, where this falls in your chart is huge. And also what type of signs it's falling in. So this is falling into the mutable signs. Those are pretty much the end. So we have cardinal next. So this is finishing off. So this is all in mutable signs, finishing this kind of set and then starting off on a new set. So what in your life is coming to a completion, whether it be a completion that you weren't expecting. So something is being completed in your life. Something is finishing up, and now you're going to have to get ready for a new restart. And this is especially potent with a new moon. So we have this all in threes, and I like to look at things in threes, but we see these things coming up, and they so we have it in these mutable signs. So that's okay. All right. So we get ready. What's going to be finishing up in our life? Do we see it? Do we feel it coming on? Is this something that we kind of foresaw a little bit with the Mercury retrograde and pretty much everybody else being retrograde, now starting all to move direct again? So we have that finalized, and then we're starting again. So what's your next? So for me, this is falling into, so this is in Gemini. So that is in my 6th and 12th houses. So Gemini is in my 6th house. So finishing up something, what could it be? Health related, work related. So what is being completed? And then where am I going next? Where's that next focus going to be? So that will then be moving into my, all my, cardinal houses, which are my angular houses. So it's all going to kind of do that shift into the angular houses on mine. So it's going to be very cardinal in my life. So something is coming to a completion, and then what am I moving forward with? So a funny thing is when I talk about doing the race that I did, so I kept saying, oh, I'm so hurt, I'm so achy, I have pain everywhere, because I've really been practicing for it. So that could be that buildup, working. Then I ran the race and didn't do as great as I thought, but I said, okay, after this, I'm going to take a break and let my body heal. So that could be my completion, that because I'm hurt, because I have pretty much been kicking my ass for the past year to do good in this race, now it's time to take a break. So now I'm forced to take a break and forced to stop with the constant, running and training and all that. So that's what I mean. It just depends on where this is falling in your chart. So just definitely check it out, see what house it's in. And, if you don't know exactly what it all means, write to me in the comments and I'll give you a little bit, like just say, I have this in my X house. And then I'll say what it could be possibly meaning for you, especially if you have other planets there as well. So just something a little interesting there. So something's going to be forced, and it's almost like a karmic thing. Like, okay, so if I am forced to stop working out or training because that's what I've been doing because I get hurt, for instance, maybe it's going to make me focus on something else because, I'm always busy. I don't like just sitting around, but maybe it's going to be, who knows what is it going to be when I then move into my 7th house. So we'll have to wait and see. So, but this energy can last up to about 2 to 3 weeks. Again, moving along with that, then waning moon phase. So it's just kind of really working together. So the entire waning cycle is going to be how we work with this transition that we're going to be going through. Doing your best to just kind of keep a clear head, which we know, this is in Gemini. So this is about so much processing of information. Now we have Mercury moving forward. So we are like full steam ahead. I have great ideas, and say it's about, Christmas shopping. I'm going to do this and I'm going to buy this. And then, but like, oh, wait a minute, I have to think about this. And then, oh, we're traveling here and we have this coming up, and, the Christmas party, and then the family party, and blah, 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 blah. So your mind's in, let's say, 4 different directions. Let's look at that grand cross. So your mind, mentally, you're in 4 different directions. And these ideas are like pulling. So this idea is going in this direction. This idea is going in this direction. This idea is going in this direction. And this one's going in this direction. And they're just pulling away, but they're all like tethered together. And just they're pulling and just like, I got to go here. I got to go here. I got to go here. And this is how you might feel. Is just, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I need to stop. And I have said this so much as of late too. My mind is just, my brain's broken because you're just everywhere. You are thinking of so much, like this whole week building up to Thanksgiving. Okay, so got to get the race done, and we're going to have my granddaughter for a couple days. And then with her, we have to plan for our Thanksgiving party and completing all this stuff at work because my work week was short, and, budgeting and then shopping for everybody and just kind of getting all that done. This is how your mind is moving in so many different directions. So I had, work and my grandchild and my family, and so you see how it's just pulling in all, cooking, and how am I going to get my cooking done, and just pulling in all these different directions. So it also is causing them because they cross in the middle. So we think of that cross. So they're pulling away, but they're also butting against each other, and it's conflicting ideas, and it's conflicting ideas with facts too in spirituality. So, I have to do this, but I want to do this. So this is like, okay, so my sun is telling me this, but then my moon is telling me this, but then my north node is, your drive and where you're supposed to go in this life karmically, but then your south node is where you feel, nice and secure and homey and kind of like your comfort zone that you have trouble getting away from. So you see how these are all conflicting ideas that are all just kind of messing with each other. So again, it really could be how, you feel mentally this time of year. And again, with this time of year too, it's funny because we're coming up on a big holiday, which everyone knows, Christmas, also Yule, also Hanukkah. There's lots of different ideas coming up. So you have your concrete ideas with the earth. And so with Yule, it's more about the earth and moon phases and with that. But then it's Christmas, which is, the birth of Jesus and those type of things. And so it's almost like, with Gemini, we have, Adam and Eve contradicting with those theories of evolution. So we have those contradictions, is it faith-based or is it more fact-based? So fact-based is that Gemini, then we have the sun there in Sagittarius, was kind of leans more faith-based. So we might find ourselves struggling with that this time of year as well, especially if you have family members with different ideologies than yours. So like with me, I am very faith-based. I'm very spiritual. I love celebrating Yule as well as Christmas, because I always see things, it's not against religion, because I look at the world like it's something that God formed. And so I'm just, kind of praising what he created. So, and in that kind of Wiccan pagan traditions, it's about kind of worshiping the world and, the changes of the earth and everything the earth provides to us, and just really celebrating all that with these different sabbats that we have throughout the year. So again, this is going to be, with these bindings, something's got to give. Something is going to happen where these ideologies maybe are going to be the center of those changes that we're going to have to make. We're going to be at that crossroads. So I would expect coming up to next week, really just saying, I have to make this decision, and now I have to work with, are the consequences of my actions that I've taken, or the consequences of someone else's actions. We have all elements present with this, with this squares, because it's in every. So of course we have Pisces, which is water. Then we have Sagittarius, which is fire, and then we have Gemini, which is air, and then we have our earth as well. So we have everything accounted for in this Grand Cross. So it's really just blending all of those elements together. And so I'll do this on a short, but I like to do kind of like little ritual. If you have a place inside that you can kind of set up a little spot where you can have all your elements present. I like to get stones from different places that I go. I use those for earth. I find feathers. I use those for air. I get water from the stream down, or we have a little pond. Wherever you find that. And of course, fire, you can use candles, you can use incense. You can also use incense for air as well, for clearing the air. Have everything present, and just let your mind just be taken away by it a little bit, and say, I am accepting of what is going to happen, and I am ready to move forward with it. Because everything in our life is about evolution, and we know that this coming year is going to be a big evolution for all of us. So really just kind of preparing ourselves mentally is a good thing ahead, because that is how we will be able to evolve. And that is pretty much what we all have coming up in our lives. So we have our information gathered, work on that, read. If something's coming up, we have that 3-eye atlas. Of course, I'm not going to let you guys forget about that. That's coming up in its closest approach to the earth on the 18th. So that could be something that we learn something about. And I just heard something else about an alien thing coming up. So, who knows? These could be things like, as we're gathering this information, how are we going to process it? How are we going to move forward? And these are the decisions that we are really going to have to make in this upcoming week. Next weekend could be really intense. So I would get ready for that. I think that next weekend's going to bring a lot. We have the changes in temperatures. We have, travel kind of lulling down a little bit, and then it's going to ramp back up in the next couple weeks. So really just get all your facts together and know what you're doing before you do it. So, again, with flights, with travel, if you're doing that, with shopping, have your list ready and don't just go shopping willy-nilly. Have a plan. be that Gemini, be that Virgo, and just really just keep everything written down, you know, and say like, all right, I am going to go by my list so that I don't go crazy and spend way too much money. So remember, it's at the bendings. So it is a karmic change. So whether it be very difficult or just a little stressful, this is something that was meant to happen to you. So go with it. This is going to cause you to evolve to where you're meant to be in this life. So this is all that nodal karma, and you want to use this karma to progress ahead and not revert back. And so it's really just how you work with it and getting the best out of it that you can. Be accepting of it and just like clear your mind. Use that spirituality, but use that information as well. Spiritually, let it in and just say, you know what? I'm going to take it in and I'm just going to go with the flow. You know, water signs, that trine and water signs go with the flow. But yet, I'm going to be smart about it. That's that Gemini. And I'm going to have all the facts, and I'm going to know going forward. I'm going to keep my list and check it twice. There's that Virgo, having a good groundwork with that earth groundwork. And then how are we going to build on that, have our good foundation, and move forward? So this is the plan for this week, y'all. Have some ideas ready. Check your chart out, see where this falls. And again, if you are confused or don't know what you're looking at, feel free to just boop, 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 send in my comments and just put what your birth date, time, and place is. I can run your chart real quick and I can give you a little bit of rundown. And if you want to just even put your email in, I can send you a little bit longer one. I love doing that, and it'll cost you nothing. I'm not going to go too in depth, but I'm going to tell you what to expect a little bit. So I hope to hear from some of you. I would love to do some extra little chart work throughout the holiday because it's always so much fun, especially with something like this happen. This destiny, this what are we destined for, karmic stuff is like the most juiciest stuff in astrology, I feel like. And it just kind of just gets us like, you know, even though it's hard, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to do it. And that's what's exciting. I know, even I was pointing out to my husband, he's got so much stuff happening. He's got, I have it written down. It was crazy. And I said, oh my God, you know, I don't know what this all is going to mean for you. But he had his, he has a loosing of the bonds in his, second level, loosing of the bonds. He has Pluto square to Saturn and to Jupiter natally, and then he has Uranus square his moon, then the full moon in his 8th and 2nd, which that money thing that always ends up popping up. So we'll see what happens there. But again, check out where this falls in your chart. We'll work on it together. It'll be a lot of fun. So make sure you like this video if you did like it. If you didn't, leave in the comments why not. And we'll try and work on that together. And subscribe to the channel. Got some shorts coming up, especially with Yule. I'm going to try and make some recipes. I've worked on a couple for this Thanksgiving. I got some great ones, y'all. I got some good cookies, and I'm going to make some bold cider, I think. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So hit that notification bell as well. Don't miss a thing. I will see you soon. Bye.